Manny here, back at it again with another PSO2 NGS deep dive. This past weekend was the first closed beta test for NGS, and while I did not personally have access to the game, I was able to work with several individuals in order to test and gather a large amount of information on a number of major and minor details about the game. So with that information, I have several videos which I am planning, including videos on information regarding classes, skills, and possible hints at future areas that might be available in NGS, as well as a very technical breakdown of the information on how weapon upgrades are going to work in NGS. But before I go into those details, I thought it might be important to cover one of the most important aspects of any MMO: how much money you can make. But I want to start off by thanking Panda over on Twitch, as well as the user SkylarkTree and the user named No One, who streamed over on the Arcs Fleet Discord. All three of these users helped me research a lot of my data from the closed beta test, including this. And if you want to check them out, I'm going to include links and information down below. To kick things off, first let's talk about N-meseta, and this is the official name for it. In the Japanese version, it is represented by the distinct N symbol, and this pairs with the new grinders having a lowercase v-like symbol. Just to explain what those are, this is the symbols for the Greek letter Nu. And PSO2 has a fondness for the Greek alphabet, the most prominent being lambda grinders. Within the first closed beta test of NGS, we saw a number of ways in which you can earn this N-meseta. Now, I'm going to set aside the player market for this discussion, as pricing set by players will be subject to change at any given moment. So today we're just going to focus on the four primary sources of farmable meseta. Those sources are dailies, weeklies, trials, and red boxes. So you may ask yourself, well, what about killing enemies? And after reviewing hours and hours of footage, I can firmly say, at least right now, that is not a very good source of meseta drops. While meseta does drop fairly often, the amount dropped even from bosses and higher level enemies was mostly in the range of 10 or 20 N-meseta. Moving on to dailies, we can see that each day, on login, you are automatically given 5 daily tasks. If you're playing PSO2 right now, this functions essentially the same as daily missions, with one major change I'll explain in a minute. Each of these daily tasks provides 2,000 N-meseta. Since there are 5 tasks, the simple math is that you will receive 10,000 N-meseta for completing all of them. And these are fairly simple tasks, such as kill 50 enemies, utilize the food stand, feed the region mag, achieve a PSE burst, which is much easier in NGS by the way, and finally, the last task is complete all 4 other daily tasks. The rewards from these tasks are acquired instantly upon completion. You don't even have to open the menu to receive them. So to circle back about that major change that I mentioned, you can only complete these once per day across all your characters. Gone are the days of switching between 20 to 30 alts to farm dailies so that you can earn the maximum amount of meseta. Honestly, I'm happy with this change. Personally, I bought over 20 characters, and frankly, I'm tired of putting in all that work. But please don't panic, there are still lots more methods to farm N-meseta to go over, and this change merely means you don't have to keep switching characters to do so. Additionally, the rewards from these dailies are low in comparison to the other methods, so let's continue. Next, let's review the weekly tasks. Most of these function identically to the daily tasks, but resetting once per week. They were 4 in the closed beta, and each of them give you 100k. So the total for that being 400k meseta. These tasks included completing 20 daily tasks, defeat 100 doll type enemies, clear 1 urgent quest, and lastly, upgrade an item at the lab. These are also once per account, the same as dailies. So just to do some quick math here, so far between weeklies and dailies, that adds up to a potential weekly earning of 470k N-meseta. So next, I want to mention trials. These function almost identically to emergency trials in PSO2 currently. As you run about the field, trials will appear randomly, and it puts a marker on the map for everyone in your region to allow players to converge on these and cooperate to complete them. The meseta rewards on these vary, but as a point of reference, the trials in the highest level area of the beta were giving a range of 1,000 to 1,500 new meseta regularly, with a couple giving the occasional 2k. And it only took about a minute or two to complete each of these. They seem to spawn more often if there are more players nearby, and when watching a group of about 10 to 15 players, they were pretty much occurring back to back with no delay. Because they give almost an entire daily worth of new meseta, I think these will wind up being a rather large portion of our income, at least for now. And this brings us to the final method for gaining large quantities of new meseta within the NGS closed beta test, and that is red chests. Making their triumphant return from previous titles, including PSO2, red chests have had a few changes to how they work. In closed beta test 1, they did not drop items of any sort, they only dropped large quantities of new meseta. The amount of new meseta earned seems to be semi-random, though it did appear in fixed quantities. These quantities being 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, and finally 500 new meseta. It was hard to determine if these were some kind of pattern or if it was completely random. So I spoke with many players on the first day of the closed beta test, and they all reported getting mostly 10,000 new meseta for at least the first handful of boxes, and then it declined to 5,000 and down from there. However, when I sat with the players on the second and third days with a notepad and a screenshot tool, the numbers seemed to be picked at random. Of note here is the official player manual website, which mentions red boxes with the statement that they will be in some way limited account-wide. What this means is completely unclear at this moment, and I hope to investigate this much more in the second closed beta test coming up shortly. One of the current theories is that the larger amounts, such as 10k, are once per box or once per region. Alternatively, boxes appear randomly, and possibly their appearance has a reset timer that is across your whole account to prevent red box farming. So in conclusion, it looks like while they are keeping dailies and weeklies, the major ways to farm meseta without using the player market is simply to play the game. The more you go out on the field and explore, and the more trials and red boxes that you find, you're going to increase the amount of meseta that you earn. And all of that will add up very quickly. However, weeklies will still give a large infusion periodically that's really appreciated. I have at least a dozen more topics I want to cover on NGS, but I'm going to wrap up this video for now. Next video I'm planning on making will cover the new math behind weapon upgrades, how powerful they will get, how much they will cost, as well as taking a look at what those weapons will look like in comparison to the PSO2 imported weapons, so please look forward to that. So what do you think of the changes to meseta farming? Are you excited? Disappointed? Personally, I think this is great. While I do lament spending money to unlock all those character slots, I am done with having to switch back and forth all the time. It makes it harder to group up or socialize within PSO2. But please feel free to voice your thoughts on the matter in the comments section down below. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell to be notified as soon as they are posted. I also have a Twitch channel which I will be streaming on occasionally, and I'd love to discuss things like this more in the chat if you stop by. And lastly, I would once again like to thank MechPanda over on Twitch, as well as the user SkylarkTree and the user No1 from the Arx Fleet Discord. All three of them gave me permission to backseat them quite often, and this allowed me to test and collect rigorous and large quantities of data. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to link to their profiles and information across Twitch and YouTube or whatever they have down below. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see some of you in New Genesis.